The reality engineers, reshaping perception to control external circumstances. Let me tell you about the moment that transformed Elena Rodriguez from a talented executive who felt powerless against external circumstances to what cognitive scientists now call a reality engineer, someone who has mastered the ability to reshape perception so precisely that they can literally alter external outcomes, influence situations that seem beyond their control, and create favorable circumstances through systematic perception manipulation. It was March 7th, 2024, and Elena was facing what appeared to be an impossible situation. 3 major business crises occurring simultaneously that threatened to destroy everything she had built over 15 years. Most people believe that external circumstances control their success and that they must adapt to whatever reality presents. Elena discovered something that borders on the supernatural. She learned what Napoleon Hill called the reality engineering method, the systematic approach to reshaping perception and consciousness in ways that literally transform external circumstances, making the impossible possible and bending reality to align with designed outcomes. Within 12 months, Elena had not only resolved all 3 crises, but had transformed them into the foundation of unprecedented success. Her colleagues began calling her achievements miraculous, but Elena knew she hadn't experienced luck. She had mastered the science of perception-based reality manipulation that most people consider impossible or mystical. Tonight, you're going to learn the exact reality engineering framework Elena used to transform external circumstances through perception control, and how you can apply these same principles to reshape any situation, overcome any obstacle, and create the external reality you desire regardless of current circumstances. The impossible crisis convergence. Elena's moment of truth arrived when 3 catastrophic situations converged within a single week. Her largest client, representing 60% of her consulting revenue, terminated their contract citing budget cuts. A key business partner initiated legal action claiming intellectual property theft. Simultaneously, her company's main operational system suffered a cyber attack that compromised client data and threatened regulatory violations. Any one of these situations would have been manageable, Elena later reflected. But facing all 3 simultaneously felt like reality itself was conspiring against me. Traditional problem-solving approaches seemed inadequate for the scale and complexity of what I was confronting. I needed something beyond conventional business strategies. The crisis deepened when Elena's advisors recommended bankruptcy proceedings as the only viable option. Financial projections showed no path to recovery under normal circumstances. Legal experts predicted years of litigation with uncertain outcomes. Technology consultants estimated months of system rebuilding with no guarantee of data recovery. That's when her executive coach, Dr. Patricia Williams, introduced her to Professor Marcus Zhang, a consciousness researcher who had spent 20 years studying what he called perception-based reality manipulation, the ability to alter external circumstances through systematic changes in awareness and cognitive processing. The reality engineering discovery. Professor Zhang had a revolutionary perspective on the relationship between consciousness and external circumstances that completely changed Elena's understanding of cause and effect. Most people believe they are victims of external reality, Professor Zhang explained. They think circumstances happen to them and their job is to react appropriately. Reality engineers understand that consciousness and external circumstances are interconnected systems. When you systematically reshape perception, you literally reshape the reality you experience. Professor Zhang showed Elena documented cases of individuals who had transformed seemingly impossible situations through what appeared to be miraculous changes in external circumstances. But these weren't random events. They followed predictable patterns that could be replicated through systematic perception engineering. Reality is more malleable than people realize, Professor Zhang continued. What appears to be solid, unchangeable circumstances are actually patterns maintained by collective consciousness and individual perception. When you master reality engineering, you learn to identify the leverage points where small changes in perception create massive changes in external experience. The 5 reality engineering principles. Over the next 3 months, Professor Zhang taught Elena 5 fundamental principles that transform perception in ways that alter external circumstances. Principle 1, perception flexibility. Instead of accepting surface appearances as fixed reality, reality engineers develop the ability to perceive situations from multiple perspectives simultaneously, identifying hidden opportunities and alternative interpretations that reveal new possibilities. Principle 2, causality reframing. Rather than accepting linear cause-and-effect thinking, reality engineers understand that consciousness and circumstances influence each other bidirectionally, allowing them to use perception changes to influence external outcomes. Principle 3, possibility expansion. Reality engineers systematically expand their awareness of what's possible by challenging limiting assumptions and developing the ability to perceive solutions that exist beyond conventional thinking. Principle 4, energy alignment. Instead of fighting against circumstances, reality engineers learn to align their consciousness with desired outcomes so completely that external reality begins organizing itself to match their internal state. Principle 5, collaborative creation. Reality engineers understand that external circumstances involve multiple consciousness systems, learning to influence these systems through perception changes that create collaborative rather than adversarial dynamics. Elena's 12-month reality engineering transformation. Under Professor Zhang's guidance, Elena systematically applied reality engineering principles to her crisis situations. Month 1, there's 3, perception, flexibility, development, and crisis reframing. Instead of viewing her 3 crises as problems to solve, Elena learned to perceive them as information about misalignment between her business model and market evolution. The client termination revealed overdependence on single revenue sources. The legal dispute indicated unclear intellectual property boundaries. The cyber attack exposed operational vulnerabilities. Elena practiced what Professor Zhang called perspective multiplication, viewing each crisis from the perspectives of all stakeholders involved. From her client's perspective, the budget cuts were rational business decisions rather than personal attacks. From her partner's perspective, the legal action was protective rather than malicious. From the cyber attacker's perspective, her systems appeared vulnerable rather than secure. I stopped being a victim of circumstances and started being a detective of patterns, Elena explained. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? I started asking, what is this teaching me about reality that I hadn't previously understood? Month 4-6, causality reframing and influence point identification. Elena learned to identify how her consciousness had contributed to creating the circumstances she was experiencing. Her stress and anxiety about business stability had influenced her decision-making in ways that created the very instability she feared. Her defensive attitude toward intellectual property had created adversarial rather than collaborative relationships. Working with Professor Zhang, Elena mapped the bidirectional influences between her internal state and external circumstances. She discovered that her fear-based decision-making had unconsciously created the conditions for client dissatisfaction, partner conflict, and security vulnerabilities. Elena began systematically reshaping her internal state to align with desired external outcomes. Instead of operating from scarcity and fear, she cultivated abundance consciousness and collaborative intention. Instead of defending against threats, she focused on creating value and building trust. Month 7-9, possibility expansion and solution creation. Elena developed the ability to perceive solutions that existed beyond conventional problem-solving approaches. Instead of trying to save existing client relationships, she envisioned business models that wouldn't depend on single client concentration. Instead of fighting legal battles, she imagined partnership structures that created mutual benefit rather than competition. She practiced what Professor Zhang called impossible thinking, systematically challenging assumptions about what was possible in each situation. She imagined scenarios where the client termination led to better opportunities, where the legal dispute created stronger partnerships, and where the cyber attack resulted in superior security systems. Through sustained visualization and consciousness work, Elena began perceiving previously invisible opportunities and resources. New client prospects appeared through unexpected channels. Alternative partnership structures became apparent that satisfied both parties' concerns. Technology solutions emerged that provided better security at lower costs. Month 10-12, energy alignment and collaborative creation. Elena learned to maintain consciousness states that magnetize desired outcomes rather than feared results. She developed the ability to remain calm and confident while navigating uncertainty, which influenced how others perceived and responded to her during crisis negotiations. Her transformed presence changed the dynamics of every interaction. Former adversaries began approaching conversations with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Potential clients were attracted to her stability and vision rather than deterred by her circumstances. Technology vendors offered creative solutions because they were inspired by her optimism and clarity. Elena discovered that when her consciousness aligned completely with desired outcomes, external circumstances began organizing themselves to support those outcomes through what appeared to be coincidence but followed predictable patterns of consciousness-based influence. The miraculous reality engineering results. By month 12, Elena's reality engineering had produced outcomes that observers called impossible. Crisis resolution transformed all 3 crises into opportunities. Client termination led to $3.2 million in new business. Legal dispute became strategic partnership, generating additional revenue. Cyber attack resulted in security systems that became competitive advantage. Business evolution rebuilt business model with diversified revenue streams, strategic partnerships, and advanced operational systems that eliminated previous vulnerabilities while creating new capabilities. Consciousness mastery developed reliable ability to maintain optimal internal states regardless of external circumstances, enabling consistent high-performance decision-making under pressure. Influence enhancement gained reputation for turning impossible situations into successes, attracting high-level opportunities and partnerships previously considered unattainable. Reality responsiveness established pattern where external circumstances consistently aligned with focused intentions, creating appearance of supernatural luck that was actually systematic perception engineering. The reality engineering framework. Through Elena's transformation and Professor Zhang's research with hundreds of individuals, they developed a comprehensive framework for perception-based reality manipulation. Phase 1, Perception Assessment and Flexibility Development Map. Current perception patterns and limiting assumptions about reality. Develop ability to perceive situations from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Practice challenging automatic interpretations of circumstances. Identify beliefs that create resistance to desired outcomes. Phase 2, Causality Understanding and Influence Point Mapping. Analyze bidirectional influences between consciousness and external circumstances. Identify how internal states contribute to creating experienced reality. Map leverage points where perception changes can influence external outcomes. Develop responsibility consciousness rather than victim mentality. Phase 3, Possibility expansion and solution creation. Systematically challenge assumptions about what's possible in challenging situations. Practice impossible thinking and creative problem solving beyond conventional approaches. Develop visualization capabilities for outcomes beyond current circumstances. Cultivate consciousness states that magnetize desired results. Phase 4, Energy alignment and state management. Learn to maintain optimal consciousness states regardless of external pressures. Align internal energy with desired external outcomes rather than feared results. Develop presence that influences others toward collaborative rather than adversarial responses. Practice consciousness states that attract rather than repel opportunities. Phase 5, Collaborative creation and reality manifestation. Understand how to influence collective consciousness through individual perception changes. Develop ability to create win-win outcomes that satisfy multiple stakeholders simultaneously. Master consistent alignment between internal vision and external manifestation. Establish sustainable patterns of consciousness-based reality creation. Real-world reality engineering applications. Case Study 1. The merger miracle technology executive Sarah Kim faced hostile takeover that threatened to destroy company culture and eliminate hundreds of jobs. Through reality engineering, she reframed the situation as an opportunity for evolution rather than destruction, maintained consciousness aligned with positive outcomes rather than defensive resistance, influenced stakeholder perceptions to see collaboration possibilities rather than conquest scenarios. The result: merger terms that preserved company culture, protected all jobs, and created career advancement opportunities that exceeded pre-merger possibilities. Case Study 2. The legal victory. Real estate developer Michael Chen faced class action lawsuit that could have bankrupted his company and destroyed his reputation. Using reality engineering principles, he shifted from defensive legal strategies to consciousness work focused on understanding and addressing underlying concerns of all parties. His transformed presence and genuine concern for community welfare influenced opposing attorneys to seek collaborative solutions rather than adversarial victories. The result: lawsuit dismissed with agreements that improved community relationships and generated positive publicity. Case Study 3. The market transformation fashion retailer Lisa Wong faced industry disruption that was destroying traditional retail business models. Through reality engineering, she perceived disruption as evolution opportunity rather than threat, aligned consciousness with innovation and adaptation rather than preservation and resistance, influenced customer and supplier relationships toward collaborative transformation. The result, complete business model transformation that generated 340% revenue increase while competitors struggled with market changes. The neuroscience of perception-based reality influence. Modern neuroscience provides frameworks for understanding how consciousness changes can influence external circumstances. Neuroplasticity and perception flexibility brain imaging shows that perception training literally rewires neural pathways, enabling individuals to process information and recognize patterns that were previously invisible. Mirror neurons and social influence research demonstrates that consciousness states are automatically transmitted through mirror neuron systems, allowing internal state changes to influence others' responses and behaviors unconsciously. Quantum field effects and consciousness interaction. Quantum physics research suggests that consciousness and external reality interact at fundamental levels, providing theoretical basis for perception-based reality influence. Collective intelligence and morphic resonance studies of group consciousness and collective intelligence demonstrate that individual consciousness changes can influence larger systems through resonance and field effects. Advanced reality engineering techniques, multidimensional perception and parallel reality access, develop ability to perceive multiple potential outcomes simultaneously and align consciousness with preferred reality tracks rather than probable outcomes based on current circumstances. Timeline engineering and temporal influence. Learn to influence past and future through present moment consciousness changes, using visualization and intention to reshape historical influences and future probabilities. Collective consciousness influence and field modification master techniques for influencing group consciousness and collective beliefs that maintain current reality structures, creating openings for alternative possibilities. Synchronicity amplification and meaningful coincidence creation develop reliable ability to generate synchronicities and meaningful coincidences that support desired outcomes through consciousness alignment and pattern recognition. The technology tools for reality engineering. Biofeedback and consciousness state monitoring use heart rate variability monitors, EEG devices, and other biofeedback tools to track and optimize consciousness states that correlate with successful reality engineering outcomes. Virtual reality and perception training environments leverage VR technology to practice perception flexibility and reality engineering techniques in simulated environments that allow safe experimentation with consciousness changes. Meditation apps and consciousness development platforms implement smartphone apps and digital platforms that provide guided exercises for developing perception flexibility, consciousness alignment, and reality engineering capabilities. Quantum field devices and energy alignment tools explore emerging technologies that claim to influence quantum fields and energy patterns associated with consciousness-based reality influence, though scientific validation varies. The daily reality engineering practice. Successful reality engineers develop consistent consciousness cultivation routines, morning perception calibration, 20 minutes, set intentions for desired external outcomes, and align consciousness with preferred reality. Practice perception flexibility exercises to maintain awareness of multiple possibilities. Visualize successful resolution of current challenges through creative solutions beyond conventional approaches. Midday consciousness alignment check, 10 minutes. Monitor internal state and adjust consciousness to maintain alignment with desired outcomes. Practice reframing challenging circumstances as information and opportunity rather than problems. Check for limiting beliefs or fear patterns that may be influencing external circumstances. Evening integration and manifestation review, 15 minutes. Review day's experiences for evidence of consciousness reality interaction and successful influence. Analyze what internal states correlated with positive external responses and outcomes. Plan consciousness cultivation for tomorrow's reality engineering objectives. Common reality engineering mistakes. Mistake 1. Attempting to control rather than influence, trying to force external circumstances to change rather than creating internal conditions that naturally magnetize desired outcomes through consciousness alignment. Mistake 2. Focusing on problems rather than possibilities, directing attention toward unwanted circumstances rather than cultivating perception and consciousness aligned with preferred alternatives and solutions. Mistake 3. Expecting immediate results without consistent practice. Looking for dramatic reality changes without developing sustained consciousness states and perception flexibility that enable reliable reality engineering. Mistake 4. Ignoring collaborative dynamics and stakeholder consciousness, attempting individual reality manipulation without considering how consciousness changes need to create beneficial outcomes for all parties involved in situations. Mistake 5. Maintaining victim consciousness while attempting reality engineering, trying to change external circumstances while maintaining internal states of powerlessness, blame, and reactivity rather than responsibility and creative influence. Building your reality engineering capabilities. Weeks 1-4. Perception awareness and flexibility foundation. Develop awareness of automatic perception patterns and limiting assumptions about reality. Practice viewing challenging situations from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Begin challenging beliefs about what's possible in current circumstances. Start daily consciousness alignment practices. Weeks 5-12. Causality understanding and influence development map bidirectional influences between internal states and external circumstances in your experience. Identify how consciousness patterns may be contributing to current challenges. Practice maintaining desired internal states regardless of external pressures. Experiment with consciousness changes designed to influence specific outcomes. Weeks 13-26. Advanced perception expansion and solution creation develop systematic approaches to impossible thinking and creative problem solving. Practice visualization and consciousness work for outcomes beyond current circumstances. Experiment with perception changes that reveal previously invisible opportunities and resources. Develop reliable access to consciousness states that magnetize desired results. Weeks 27-39. Collaborative creation and stakeholder influence. Learn to influence others' consciousness through your own internal state changes. Practice creating win-win solutions that satisfy multiple stakeholders simultaneously. Develop ability to maintain collaborative consciousness even in adversarial situations. Master consistent alignment between internal vision and external manifestation. Weeks 40-52. Mastery integration and reality manifestation. Establish reliable patterns of consciousness-based reality creation and external influence. Develop advanced techniques for perception-based problem solving and opportunity creation. Integrate reality engineering into all aspects of life and professional challenges. Begin teaching and mentoring others in consciousness-based reality influence. Your reality engineering revolution. Elena Rodriguez's transformation from circumstantial victim to reality engineer wasn't about learning to accept her circumstances. It was about learning to reshape them through consciousness mastery. She discovered that the boundary between internal experience and external reality is far more permeable than most people realize. The reality engineering method she mastered isn't about positive thinking or wishful visualization. It's about systematic consciousness development that creates measurable changes in external circumstances through perception-based influence that follows predictable principles. Reality engineering represents the ultimate personal empowerment. When you master the ability to influence external circumstances through consciousness changes, you transcend the limitations that constrain most people's success and create possibilities that appear supernatural to conventional thinking. Your ability to transform any situation, overcome any obstacle, and create any desired outcome ultimately depends on your consciousness development rather than external resources or favorable circumstances. The framework exists, the principles are documented, the techniques are trainable. The only variable is your willingness to accept responsibility for reality creation rather than remaining a victim of circumstances. Like this video if you're ready to master reality engineering and develop supernatural problem-solving capabilities. Subscribe to this channel for continued consciousness development and reality manipulation education. Comment below with your most impossible challenge. Let's engineer perception-based solutions together. Remember, you are not a victim of reality. You are a co-creator of it. And it's time to take conscious control of that creative process. Start engineering your reality today.